And welcome back to Dystopia Media. This is episode 7, titled NASA Tasked with Helping Illegals Into the USA. And I know that a lot of you out there listening and watching on the multiple platforms have either read this article or seen it mentioned. And probably part of your mind when you saw that NASA was being asked to help illegal alien kids or illegal aliens into the United States, you thought it was a joke. You thought it was one of those parody things that you might have seen on The Onion or Babylon Bee. But I'm here to tell you, folks, this is not a joke. The Biden-Harris administration has, through the HHS, and I think that's Health and Human Services Division, sent out an email to federal employees all over the place in Texas, including NASA, to get them to help out with the border situation. Now, before we get into this, I want to announce that there is a new situation here for Dystopia Media. We have recently joined Subscribestar and Patreon. And the reason that's important is if you can find us on Patreon at Dystopia Media or Subscribestar, whichever one you prefer, please go and give us your support. We need to actually build the website for dystopia.media. You'll see our Facebook page and YouTube pages. They all link to dystopia.media, and you go there and there's nothing there. So we need to raise about $300 to create the website and pay for its first year hosting. And we hope you will help us do that at patreon.com/dystopia media or subscribestar.com/dystopia media. So, it's one of the things that we have to do with a new podcast here. And we're on episode 7. So if you like what we're doing and you liked our last one, episode 6, Evidence China is Attacking USA from Within, please give us your support. So let's go over here and take a look at what's going on with this email that was sent to NASA employees. This is from the Daily Mail, and this is fairly recently. This was April 6th. It says, Texas, we have a problem. They're pleading with NASA to get their employees to volunteer at overcrowded border facilities. The Daily Mail reports agencies shared the call to help from the Department of Health and Human Services, and they said they're looking for NASA staff to take part in a 120-day work to help with the crisis. Well, folks, NASA, I think, their focus there is supposed to be aerospace and research and space exploration, not helping at the border. But this is a part of a bigger problem. And I'm going to tell you, this is actually happening where NASA, which, is a very important, has made some very important contributions to the nation of America and to the world technologies, is being focused on something else. And this is not the first time that these Democrats have done this, We've seen this before during the Obama administration when Obama decided that NASA wouldn't be focused on space exploration as well. So also, if you take a look at the image we're using for this, you'll see an image of some of the illegal immigrant youth here in foil blankets, the shiny silver foil blankets that you see. And of interesting note, those were developed because of NASA. Our space expert, we're going to get into it, some of the inventions that you don't even realize every day, coming up here in a few minutes, that were developed by NASA and America's space program. These kids who were being handed these foil blankets to cover up with in the Immigration and Customs Enforcement detention facilities are using NASA technology. So that's why we've got those two together. Also, these kids, these illegals they're bringing in right now, basically they're being dispersed into the United States by the Biden-Harris administration at your expense, taxpayers, flying them in to turn them loose to Catholic charities and other NGOs. And you'll never see them again. They'll never be deported. They'll never be held accountable. Their parents won't be held accountable for what they've done, turning their kids loose into such an environment. But let's talk about what's happened before. Not only now, Biden and Harris immediately, just got elected, and now they're trying to redirect NASA into some other field not related to our lives or well-being or all of the NASA contributions to the national security of the United States. And under Obama, it was just terrible. We're going to look at some of this stuff from Obama. The rumor the message being leaked by NASA employees during the Obama administration was that people were being put in places of power, positions of power and work inside the administration that should have never cleared any type of background check, and that a lot of our national security secrets involving aerospace and how missiles can carry nuclear bombs over to other nations, and we lost a lot of that to China under the Clinton administration. But then when Obama came in, they said that people were just walking out of NASA with hard drives and everything that they could possibly want to get their hands on. So Obama, he really, really rocked the boat when he appointed a guy. Let me pull him up here, a new administrator, and it's not a
first anniversary.
It's not unusual for them to put in new department heads, but Obama appointed Charles Bolden here as the administrator, and let's see what he said. He went on Al Jazeera, and he went into the Middle East, and he said something very exciting about NASA having a new mission. Just check this out in case you didn't catch it the first time. This was from back, I believe, around 2010, 2011, not long after Obama took power, and his new NASA administrator, Charles Bolden, is speaking to the Islamic. Oh, well, I can't say the M word. I need to let Bolden say his thing. And as a podcaster, I can't say the M word because all of us in the know that's the number one way to get demonetized and banned by Silicon Valley. So we'll just let Charles Bolden here talk for a minute.
Then the administrator.
Excuse me, Charles Bolden with his interview with Al Jazeera.
A fixture in science, in fiction, and in science fiction as well. The organization I'm talking about, of course, is NASA. But is NASA now at a crossroads? Well, who best to find out from than the administrator of NASA, Charles Bolden. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks so much for allowing me to be here. It's exciting for me to be here.
Well, it's fantastic having you on Talk to Al Jazeera. I know it's very rude to ask this of a guest, but my first question to you is, why are you here in the region?
Now, don't worry, folks. We don't have to watch much of this video because the director of NASA, this happens in the first few minutes. I'll include all the links to this in the descriptions after this podcast is over. So if you want to go back, I don't want anybody to accuse me of taking anything out of context. But then again, you don't want the whole video. You don't have to wait long for folks. Here in the first minute or two of his interview with Al Jazeera is when the big surprise drops.
I appreciate you asking the question. I'm here in the region. It's sort of the first anniversary of President Barack Obama's visit to Cairo and his speech there when he gave what has now become known as Obama's Cairo Initiative, where he announced that he really wanted this to be a new beginning of the relationship between the United States and the Muslim world. When I became the NASA administrator, or before I became the NASA administrator, he charged me with three things. One was he wanted me to help re-inspire children to want to get into science and math. He wanted me to expand our international relationships. And third, and perhaps foremost, he wanted me to find a way to reach out to the Muslim world.
Let's repeat that real quick.
Where he announced that he really wanted this to be a new beginning of the relationship between the United States and the Muslim world. When I became the NASA administrator, or before I became the NASA administrator, he charged me with three things. One was he wanted me to help re-inspire children to want to get into science and math. He wanted me to expand our international relationships. And third, and perhaps foremost, he wanted me to find a way to reach out to the Muslim world.
Now, that is not NASA's mission. That's all SJW politics right there. And, and it explains why so many things in our country are going wrong. And I want to say, as an opinionated podcast host here of Dystopia Media, I do not agree with the Biden-Harris administration trying to distract our NASA scientists to go and help bring illegal immigrants into the country, which of course are going to be expected to grow up and vote Democrat. I do not agree with Obama's plan to reach out to the M-word world as the focus of NASA. Now, there was pretty big pushback on this. Let's hear I'm going to play a little clip here from one of the news coverages of what the pushback was to this, because people were pretty ticked when Obama did this, but it gets worse. Obama did more than just putting this guy in charge to change and distract from what NASA was doing. He did some critical cuts to the administration that were just outlandish. But let's look at the pushback here on this Al Jazeera.
Buried under an avalanche of criticism for saying one of his main goals is to reach out to Muslim nations to help them feel good. From political leaders to space leaders, the reaction is an angry one. West 2 Dan Billow is in our Cape Canaveral newsroom. And Dan, what exactly did the NASA administrator say?
Well, Jim, Charlie Bolden was interviewed on Al Jazeera, the Arab television network, and talked to an interviewer about what President Obama wants him to do as NASA administrator, and it had very little to do with putting U.S. astronauts in space.
And third, and perhaps foremost, he wanted me to find a way to reach out to the Muslim world and engage much more with dominantly Muslim nations to help them feel good about their historic contribution to science and engineering.
In Washington, D.C.
Okay, now look, nobody wants to sell these countries and historic contributions to science and mathematics and astronomy that different nations and cultures have made across the world. But there's actually only been 3 spacefaring nations so far. Well, there's the European Space Agency, which is a combination of countries, but it's the European Space Agency, it's the United States, it's Russia, and it's now China. And of course, China is using a lot of our 2-stage rocket technology, which they stole from Los Alamos National Laboratories through espionage late in the second term of Bill Clinton. Unfortunately, this 2-stage technology also, before that, the Chinese would often threaten to nuke the West Coast. They couldn't hit the whole country, but they could hit parts of California inaccurately enough to irradiate the rest of the United States with fallout. But after stealing our 2-stage technologies from Los Alamos Laboratories in the late 90s under Bill Clinton's watch, China can pretty much now drop a nuke on any and every town and city in the United States with some degree of accuracy because of their stolen technologies. Just wanted to point that out. Also, real quick, if you're not already subscribed to our YouTube channel for Dystopia Media or our Facebook page for Dystopia Media, please help us. Do us a solid. Go over there, join our Facebook page, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We need those subscribers. We need your comments. I want to welcome Chris, Christine, Kirk, Aaron, Josh, all of you folks who are watching right now. See everybody from Facebook. And of course, we have big trouble getting the response to the live over on YouTube. So if you can hear us, give us a shout out into the chat stream there. And let's continue with this broadcast criticism of Obama's new head of NASA that made these exciting comments on Al Jazeera.
Reaction has been outraged. Apollo astronaut Gene Cernan says that is not what his job is and suggested a call for Bolden to resign. Michael Griffin, the man Bolden replaced as NASA administrator, called the statement a perversion of NASA's purpose. Newspapers and conservative commentators have weighed in, taking shots at Bolden for sending U.S. astronauts to Russia to be launched, leaving the U.S. launch industry with an uncertain future, while calling it his foremost job to reach out to Muslim and Arab nations.
Now let's address that there, right there. Yes. Obama canceled the Shuttle program, amongst other things, and that program could have been extended. More shuttles could have been built. We could have continued with the very valuable shuttle program. But one of the reasons that I believe that the shuttle program was taken away from America is that for the last at least 2 decades since I've been studying these issues, anything that would give Americans a sense of pride or common national identity as Americans has been taken away. And the space program and the shuttle program and the sense of pride that we've had since the Apollo and Gemini and Mercury programs and the landing of the moon, of course, in summer of '69. Anything that would give us something to agree about is being taken away. And that's why I think that Obama, one of the primary reasons why he removed the shuttle program from the national thing. But he did more than that, okay? Inside of NASA, Obama also canceled the Orion program, which was going to be our return to the moon, and our plans to reach Mars, and several other programs. He gutted it and he redirected it towards climate change and political type issues, which is very important. Now, a lot of that came back under the Trump administration when there was a new interest in aerospace and funding these type of things. But Obama did something that he's done many things that offend me. But one of the big lies he told is he came out and he told us not to worry about the changes that he had made because we're going to Mars in 2035. You hear that, folks? 2035. Now, since the shuttle program was canceled from 2011 up until just last year, with some success we'll talk about with SpaceX, NASA combination. We were no longer a spacefaring nation. In fact, right now, America is no longer a spacefaring nation. We don't have astronauts. That false claim by Obama's head of NASA that he wants to re-inspire children in math and science. Well, let me tell you something. Number one way to re-inspire children in math and science is show people colonizing space. I mean, we should have colonized moons of Jupiter and Saturn by now. We should be spread out at least halfway across the solar system. I'm a bit bitter about this because I grew up on futuristic movies. Some of them, of course, were apocalyptic, Mad Max kind of stuff, but we had such great science fiction that was paralleling our actual achievements in aerospace and space exploration back in the late 60s and 70s. And by the year 2021, which is where we're at today, I want to know, where's my robot that's supposed to be washing my clothes and mowing the lawn, because I'm supposed to have robots that are washing the dishes. Okay. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. We're supposed to have like Rosie from the Jetsons downstairs right now folding the clothes, and it's not happening. We've made great leaps in medicine and communications with like smartphones and stuff like that, but where's we should be on Mars already. I mean, look, we even had the futuristic movies, 2001 and 2010. In the movie 2010, we're sending spaceships with astronauts out to Jupiter. We should be able to do this type of stuff. But some things went critically wrong in the country. In the mid to late 70s to the early 80s, it started pulling the plugs out of this country, went off the rails, went off the track. And then here's Obama reacting to the criticism with one of the most ridiculous, hollow promises I've ever heard in my life. Check this out.
Commander-in-Chief fired back today at critics who accuse him of gutting America's space program. In a speech at the Kennedy Space Center, President Obama defended his decision to cancel plans to send astronauts back to the moon.
But I just have to say, pretty bluntly here, we've been there before. There's a lot more of space to explore and a lot more to learn when we do.
The president outlined a new plan that includes manned missions to Mars in the next 25 years. In the meantime, he wants private companies to develop spacecraft for shorter trips to the International Space Station.
Now, isn't that nice, folks? He made us a promise for 2035. And, it's like 25 years down the road. And we all get those all the time, right? I'm sure there's a lot of people in your personal life that make you promises for 20, 25 years down the line. Ridiculous. And the fact that it didn't receive the attention that it deserved. So since 2011 up until last year, we had to go pay the Soviets millions of dollars to put our astronauts on their Soyuz craft to get to the International Space Station or to do any type of satellite recovery repairs, anything like that. We had to pay our old Cold War adversaries to take us up there until SpaceX came rolling in
11:01 p.m. Eastern
last year and was able to put Americans back in space. But again, this is a corporation. This is SpaceX. It's a cooperation with NASA. But so here you have it. 4 astronauts on the crew of the Dragon capsule. They reached the International Space Station. But you don't see any American flags. Here they are, docking with the station. There's no American flags on their uniforms. In the capsule they're entering. Anything that would give Americans a common sense of pride, a common sense
very humble and
of
happy to be here.
National identity is being taken from us. And that's a big part of it. So when you see crazy reports about how NASA is being asked to go to the border and help with illegal immigrants coming in, it's a long way from the summer of 1969 when Apollo 11 touched down and, first men on the moon. And while there have been many women and people of color that contributed to the America's space programs at different phases, of course, in the late 60s and 70s, it was much more of a white male kind of place. And that's another reason that the left has targeted NASA for, And I'm all about women and people of color being astronauts and involved with the space program. Yeah, don't get me wrong, I'm for them. But one of the things about it is a lot of the modern communist socialist left is against Caucasians and conservatives and Republicans and Trump voters, and especially white males. White males are the most bashed and abused people in American culture today. And it's a long way from that summer of '69 when I was 1 year old and almost one. And the family says I was pulling myself up for the first time onto the big old black and white TV in the living room, just in time to see Armstrong, do his step down into the lunar soil there. So we don't get this anymore, This is all not allowed anymore.
Contact light.
And these people landed on the moon with computers that could barely rival like some of our modern calculators. They figured it out.
We copy you down, Eagle. Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. Roger, Tranquility. We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue. We're breathing again. Thanks a lot.
The whole world watched, and it built up goodwill towards the United States. That's another thing that's not allowed. One of the reasons I think that we're not allowed to make good movies anymore, we're not allowed to make good music and good rock and roll or anything like that, or even jeans that people like, is that anything that would create goodwill towards the American people in the globe, we're not allowed to do that. Our globalists and Chi-Com masters are out to subvert everything like that we could possibly do. I really believe that. Now, before we wrap this up, I want to point out to folks a couple of the things that the space program has brought to us and that you might use on a regular basis here. And this is just one of many. There are other websites that say 30 things, 20 things, 10 things from the space program. But let's just go over a few things so that you will be prepared to inform other people some of the things that they enjoy every day that came from the funding of our space program. Okay, here's one. Camera phones, which have revolutionized our lives. The technology is from the space program. What do we get here? Scratch resistant glasses, lenses for your glasses. CAT scans, to find out what's wrong with you, cancer and other illness issues. LEDs, which we're using more and more every day, and of course every Christmas. LED lights, landmine removal technologies, athletic shoes came from our space exploration space programs. And here you go. You've got the foil blankets that the illegal aliens are wrapping themselves up in as they await NASA to come and help them invade the United States illegally. Water purification systems necessary for life and development. Dustbuster vacuums, ear thermometers, home insulation. The jaws of life, which are made here in North Carolina and Cleveland County. If somebody is in a bad wreck and the emergency personnel can't get them out by hand, they break out the jaws of life. And that came from our space program. Wireless headsets, which some of you are using to listen to this podcast. Memory foam, freeze-dried food, adjustable smoke detectors, baby formula, artificial limbs, computer mouse, and the portable computer are all credited with having come from research at our space program from here in the United States. So, folks, it's space exploration is important, and it's very clear that the Biden-Harris administration, much like the Obama administration, is not focused on what NASA really should be doing. I wish that I was debunking this and saying that this didn't really happen. But let's just, before we close, let's take a look at the email itself that was sent to the NASA, let's make sure I got it on screen here, the NASA folks. We've got it right here. It says, Health and Human Services is seeking interested candidates to serve up to 120 days voluntary deployment detail as part of HHS. So this basically means these people would be leaving their position at NASA. It's not something like, hey, I'm going to work at NASA during the day, and tonight I'm going to run down there and serve some hot soup to the illegals. No, this is a deployment. Administration for Children and Families, the ACF, Office of Refugee Resettlement, Unaccompanied Children Program, Office of Personnel Management, and HHS Opportunity provides a continuum of care for children, including placements in foster care, shelter, and residential care providers that provide temporary housing and to assist with the caring for and placing children without legal immigration status who have entered the country at the southern border without a parent or legal guardian. Details will involve contact with migrant children and a variety of other federal and non-federal, what is that word? Utilities, possibly including U.S. Custom and Border Protection, American Red Cross, the FEMA, and other HHS employees. This is a reimbursable detail. Oh, so you do get paid. Travel, lodging, and per diem will be provided. 2 types of support needed. 1, they need line of sight support for youth care, eyes on, ensure children's needs are met, requires empathy, coordination, and organizational skills. I'm sure when these people applied for NASA, they wanted to make sure they had plenty of empathy and coordination skills, because you need that for exploring space. Right. Case managers, language proficiency required to assist and conduct the translating intake information during interviews with the children. Locations currently include facilities along the southwest U.S. border area, specifically in Dallas, San Diego, San Antonio, Fort Bliss. These will extend to other geographic areas according to the need. Currently, location requests are not being accepted, so you don't get to pick where you go. Individuals working directly with children will need to undergo a, quote, child care investigation, which includes specific checks as directed by the Crime Control Act of 1990, etc. Now, that's one of the things I want to point out. I've heard some people saying that they may have dialed back on some of the background checks on some of the people who are around these kids. And there are some terrible reports coming out of the detention center. Of course, the drug cartels are doing terrible things to these kids. And then there's reports that other illegals and staff members are doing terrible things inside the detention centers. And then once they're handed over to some of these charities, who knows? But it's actually absolutely true, folks, that the National Space and Aeronautics Administration of the United States has been tasked with helping illegal immigrants enter the United States. We wish this was fiction, but it is not. So, in closing, we appreciate you listening to episode 7. Please join our Facebook and YouTube pages, comment, and subscribe. And also, we are looking for folks to help us build our dystopia.media website, which needs to be there as a backup in case these tech giants start really, knocking us offline or deplatforming us, because they don't like our pro-America positions here at Dystopia Media. Please visit us at Subscribestar, Dystopia Media at Subscribestar, Dystopia Media at Patreon, and make a contribution of some amount or a monthly contribution. We need to raise $300 to get our website up, and we're hoping that we can crowdsource it with your support. This is episode 7 of Dystopia Media signing off. Thanks for being there. Please like, subscribe, and share this with others that you may feel that might find this interesting.